Punters, welcome back. This is the season finale of CueBall's Rambles. But never fear, because I have a cracking guest for you at this time. But first, we're going to roll the introduction one last time. I tear the skin from the bone just to feel you. So, this is it. This is the season finale of CueBall's Rambles, season 3, and the person I have on for you today, guys, Thunders, whatever, is absolutely phenomenal. So we're going to give him an introduction because he deserves it. So he's best known for his time in the world of sports, going up against the likes of Big Daddy and teaming with the biggest, baddest heel you could think of in British wrestling way back when, Giant Haystacks. He's also known for his match against Flesh Gordon. And he is now the current Pro Wrestling Live Tag Team Champions with James Benham. Punters, I give you the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Scrubber Daly. And we have the pyrotechnics. How the hell are you, man? It's been a long time since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been a long while, mate. This lockdown, it's killed everything, hasn't it?
Oh,
you know, it's but we're coming out of it, hopefully. Get back in the ring where we belong.
Definitely. And it's nice to see you, like I said, last time I seen you, I think was 2019 for CWF.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and you're looking good. You're looking great. You're looking good health. Loving the beard, because I'm a beard enthusiast myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's looking good. So, we ready for the questions? You ready to
answer? Yes, mate. Fire away.
So, for the last time this season, Scrubber, for the dozens and dozens and dozens watching at home, how and why did you get into this crazy wrestling business?
Well, I used to go to watch it at Bedworth Civic Hall, and I just fancied having a go. So I wrote to Dale Martin's Promotions, and they sent me a thing to get in touch with Pat Roach, because he was running a course at Birmingham at his gym. So I did, and I was on the dole at the time. I was out of work, and some friends clubbed together to pay the money for me to go. And I went to Pat Roach's gym for 8 weekends. I come back black and blue every weekend, and there was 139 joined, and I think there was about 4 that carried on.
Damn.
So yeah. So that was the introduction to it.
Yeah.
I had to wait a while to get in then. I seen Max Crabtree, and he said, "You've got to grow a beard because you're too baby-faced to be a villain." So I grew a beard, and it just went from there.
Nice. So when you came into wrestling, did you want to be the heel, or did you want to be the blue eyes, the baby face, or were you just happy to go along with whatever?
Well, I've always been a villain. I was a baddie in the football. I think I must have paid for Birmingham FA in fines for being booked and sent off, and so it didn't bother me.
Not fair enough. So, have you ever had? Has there ever been a time when you was in the ring wrestling? When everybody loved to hold all the big daddies, the Steve Logans, the whoever it was at the time. Was there ever any grannies that were trying to get into the ring to beat the crap into you because you'd be in their heroes?
Well, I'd done a tag match at Bedworth Civic Hall, which is more or less my hometown, but they hated me there. And there used to be an old lady sat at the back. She used to be a former headmistress. And I was stood on the outside. I forget who I was tagging with. I think it was Mal Kurt. And she literally run down from the stage down the steps and clawed me down both legs. I had 10 claw marks, and she broke every finger on every nail on her fingers.
Well,
And then I had one at Stoke, took her heel of a shoe off and hit me on the top of my foot. And then by the time we'd finished and I took my boot off, I couldn't get my shoe on to go home with.
So how did you react to these things? Obviously, you would have had to remain professional and in gimmick as well. You know, was it through your head like, you bastard or whatever, or was it just a case of just go along with it?
Yeah, it was, you know, but as you know, you're not allowed to touch them outside. So, you know, what can you do? If they come in the ring, that's a different matter. I've had one or two blokes come in the ring and left rather abruptly, you know. So once they get in there, that's my territory and there's nothing nobody can do but touch them outside and that's it. You get nicked.
Yeah.
I've often come back and had the police sitting outside the house waiting for me. You know, I done a show at Old Beach and this guy, he kicked me right at the bottom in my coccyx. And so as we walked out, it was me and Lucky Gordon, and he always used to take the back. He'd say, I'll take the back, you take the front. So I said to him, when I'll give you the nod, I said, just give me a push in the back. Well, I seen this guy standing at the end. So I said to him, push me. And he pushed me. So, of course, I went forward and hit him, you know. So he made a complaint to the police. I got home at 2 o'clock in the morning and there's the police car sitting outside the house.
Away.
You know, a decent guy. I knew him anyway, the copper. He said, come down to the station in the morning, make a statement. He says, so long as you bring me a grandson an signed autograph photo, he says, you won't hear anymore. And that's what I did. So, you know, just swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That's cool. So we will go into a bit more of this later, but obviously you have returned to the ring the past couple of years ago, sorry. Would you say you can still get the same heat as you did way back when?
No, because they're different punters.
Yeah.
Different altogether. I mean, when I do the manager's job for James, I would never have got away with anything that I do now in the olden days.
Right.
That have lynched you.
Yeah.
You know, they're totally different. Plus, I think nowadays there's no rules.
Yeah.
So if you're a villain and you want to get good heat, you've got to break the rules.
Yeah.
But if there's no rules, you can't break them.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely. So let's rewind again. So, you know, you started out, you went to Pat Roach to train for 8 weeks, 8 weekends, sorry, whatever.
Yep.
And was your first match, you know, did you step into the world of sport, Dale Martin Promotions? Is that where it all began for you?
Yeah.
So your first match, do you remember your first match?
Definitely. It was Andy Blair, one of the lads that had been to Pat Roach's. Nobody had told us the strength. So we went in that ring. It was Brent Town Hall, Wembley, and we beat the shit out of each other for 6 rounds. And when we come back in, all the other lads, I think there was Sid Cooper and all them lads, stood there laughing. And then they told us, you know. So it got better from there on.
Yeah. Oh, it's the experience of it, isn't it? You gotta have your bad times then to eventually have your good times.
Yeah. I mean, the training was terrible. Pat Roach would slam you on the concrete floor. There were no mats or nothing, you know. And this is what I say: the training now is a lot different and easy. Yeah. Anybody can get in now, whereas then you had to train really hard. You got hammered and knocked about, until they actually thought you were right, and then you were okay.
Yeah.
It was terrible, some of it.
Yeah, I could say, speaking to wrestling veterans in the past on this, they always say how it is easier nowadays for the younger generation to
Yeah,
get through this, to put their foot through doors and all that, compared to what it was like for you guys. So would you say that's what is missing from today's wrestling training? The more hard hitting kind of training style.
The trouble is, if you did it that way, they'd have you up on this thing on Twitter. I'm not actually on Twitter.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you trained hard, then your name would be on Twitter as you're a bully.
Yeah.
On this speak out thing.
Yeah.
So you can't win. And the trouble is, with the older type wrestlers, if they do any seminars or anything, they put everything in, and they don't like it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys now. I've been to different shows all over the country, and there's a lot of guys now that wouldn't even get a job putting the ring up in the later days, in our days, because they're just not good enough, and they'll walk in with a belt over the shoulder.
So would you say wrestling was taken more serious back in your day than what it is today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. It was a lot harder to get in. Nowadays, you can just go to a promotion and get in. You'll be on the show.
Yeah. Or you're friendly, or you're friends with the promoters. Get us a booking, please. All right, and yeah, seems we're friends, you can come on. Yeah, I don't agree with that personally, but
no,
it is what it is. You can't say anything because people might.
That's right. That's right.
People will cry if you do. So how long did it take you then to really get yourself out there as a wrestler in the world of sports days?
About 6 months. Possibly, it might be a bit less than that. I'd done a couple with Andy Blair, and then I got paired up with Pat Roach. Not Pat Roach, Pat Patton.
Yeah.
Who came from Cannock, so we were pretty local to each other for travelling. And I'd done quite a lot of matches with him. He helped me quite a lot. And then I built up from there. And then I went into they put me in the tag matches, and it just went from there. The TVs and everything,
Yeah.
It just rolled on then.
So would you say a high point for you was when you got put in a team with Giant Haystacks, or was it way before
that? No, it was before that. I'd done a lot of tag matches with Lucky Gordon.
Yeah.
From Birmingham. He was a great guy, and he helped me a lot. Mal Kirk helped me a lot. I'd done a lot of tags with Mal Kirk. He helped me a lot, but it took that bit of getting in before they would help you.
Yeah. So, like I said in its introduction, you are most known for being in the ring and wrestling Big Daddy. How because obviously he was a big dude, as we all know.
Yeah.
How easy or how hard was it for you to have a wrestling match with Big Daddy, Shirley?
It was easy because you couldn't change the script because he wouldn't remember it. And it was just normal run of the mill Big Daddy show.
It is what it is, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I watched a match between yourself and Big Daddy, and the heat was there for you, and the cheers were there for Big Daddy. Obviously, he was the big baby face, and he was the biggest star of Dale Martin Promotions.
Well, his brother was a promoter, you see.
Yeah. But it's great that you can watch wrestling back when back in your time and still see like how excited the crowd get when the baby faces come on, and then especially when the heels come out like yourself, the amount of booing you would get, the amount of things that people throw at you, and to me, somebody like me who works off the emotion in wrestling, that is just pure amazing.
You'd have been brilliant if that's, you see, we never had to talk a match. We just went off the heat, and you'd take the falls when the heat was there.
Yeah.
And it was amazing the buzz you used to get. It was, especially when it were a full house and and that, and the people hated you. It was easy then.
Yeah. Still, like I said, you could see it, you can hear it as well. Just watching back at the old, I recommend for anybody who is going to be coming into wrestling after COVID is gone or whatever, or we can start doing stuff, to watch the old style, the old school world of sport.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because nowadays it's all about the flippy, shitty tricks.
Yeah.
But back then it was based on emotion. I would say. You had your wrestling matches. I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, I would say the term "less is more" was used more back then.
That's right.
And I think for wrestling fans, it was easy to follow, so they knew who they was doing and knew who they was cheering.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you're doing all your flippy shit for 15, 20 minutes, and people just don't know what's going on.
No.
And
they're sat there on the front row looking at the phones.
Yeah. And in my experience of wrestling, I like to bring that less is more thing back in.
Yeah, that's right.
To me is important. Because you have roughly about six matches per card. And if everybody is doing the same flippy shit every match, people are going to get bored.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why I like to bring the old, if you will, the old style back into place. And I guess
exactly, I'd like to see the rounds back as well. The old English style wrestling, the rounds back, and the rules. And I think if they did it that way, the punters would get more into it. And no lights on. We never had any lights on, so it was dark, because when you get somebody sitting there and they're shouting, if they can see everybody, they're not going to do it because they think, they're going to look at me,
Yeah.
Dark. Yeah. If it's dark, they can scream and shout their head off. Nobody can see them.
Yeah.
Enjoy it more. And I've proved that with Matt. I got him to do a couple of shows with no lights on, just the ring light, and the atmosphere we got was totally different. And now, if he can get a ring light up, that's what he does, and he has the other lights off, because you get a better atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a good move, isn't it? I think I've always loved the whole spotlight is in the ring, because that's right, really where it should be. Let's face it. You're there. People are coming to watch you, kind of thing. So I think that's where it should be. So come across his interview earlier whilst doing a bit of research, and it was with somebody called Ray Stubbs, and he was criticizing wrestling. And from what I loved it myself. Somebody you should go and watch it. So you basically give him a good see into. That sounded so dodgy, but I didn't mean that in the innuendo. So without breaking the fourth wall or gimmick in a way, kayfabe, was that planned, or was that actually a straight shoot? Like he's Chris, he's like, fuck you.
Straight shoot. What it was BBC Two. They'd done a program on the amateur sports and the professional sports, and with the wrestling, they'd done the actual story on Fit Finlay,
right?
But Ray Stubbs wouldn't let him put an hold on him, because he said he was going to hurt him, you see. So I got to Hanley this night, Saturday night, And Max Crabtree said to me, he said, "I got a job for you at the end of the show." I said, "What's that?" He said, "I want you to put an hold on this bloke." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Fine, fair enough." So I said, and then the producer come in and he introduced this Ray Stubbs, you see. And he says, what you going to do? I said, "Well," I said, "do you want the camera on me or do you want the camera on him?" I said, "Depending what you want to what I put on him." So they says, "Well, a bit of both, actually." So I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll put a grovit on him." Right. So he said, "Okay." And I just kept a straight face, you know, and Ray Stubbs were asking some questions and this, that, and the other. So he says, "Could you show me what you're going to do?" So I said, "No." So he said, "Why?" I said, "Because it'll hurt you."
And you won't want to do it.
I said, "You'll only want to do it once."
Yeah, yeah.
So he looked at the producer and he said, "This bastard's going to hurt me." So the producer said to him, he says, "Well, you can back out if you want." So he said, "No." He says, "I'll do it." So on that video that they showed the other day, they missed the best bit out, which was the end bit, because when I put the grovit on him, you see, I'd just come off from doing a match, so I was all wet and slippy. So I had to, instead of hooking on my arm, I had to hook into his shirt. Right. But when they took the camera round, he kept saying, "Loose it off, loose it off, loose it off." So I did, and the producer said, he stood at the back and he said, "Loose it off so he can finish talking to you and then put it back on." So I said, "Okay." So I loosed it off so he could finish talking, and then the producer gave me the nod, so I put it on, and the camera was still underneath, and his lips were blue.
Oh, nice.
And I felt him just go, and I just dumped him in the corner and walked off, left him, nice. And that was it, you know. So and then I done a thing after that, because that were on Auntie's Bloomers, and it had one of the most outtakes on it. And Gabby Roslin done a show of the most outtakes of films. So I had to go down to London to do this show with Gabby Roslin, and of course she just talked about it. And when they actually showed you underneath, she said, "Oh," she says, "his lips are blue." I says, "Well, yeah." I says, "Because it's cut the oxygen off to his brain." So I said, "Would you like to try it?" And she says, "No, thank you." So that was that, like, you know.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. So, and that also generated heat for you, I'd imagine, as well.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, yeah.
There we go. Yeah. See, just the little things as well. The little any opportunities you get in wrestling, you've got to take them within reason. I would
That's
say.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool as fuck. Like I said, I seen it earlier. I had to ask about it. So you've had your success in World of Sports. That you was around there for many years, and it came to an end, unfortunately. I'm not sure when I want to say late 80s kind of time. I want to say.
Yeah, late 80s. It finished the TV.
Yeah. So
yeah.
What was it like finishing up with World of Sports? You know, that was it? Was that it for Scrubber, or did you try carrying on, or what? You know, time after World of Sport.
I carried on because then, you see, once the TV had finished, you could work for anybody.
Yeah.
Where when they had the TV, Max had the TV, he wouldn't let you work for anybody else.
Yeah.
So once that finished, he hadn't got the hold over here. So I used to work for Dixon, anybody, you know, so long as I'd got a full date sheet, I weren't bothered.
Would you say that? So in terms of business, was that a good move for you? You know, so you could go off and do other things apart from being in one promotion?
That's right, yeah. Because it meant I could wrestle other people.
Yeah.
You know, as well as not being just stuck on the tags with Big Daddy.
So, favorite matches afterwards?
Sorry?
Favorite matches afterwards, like highlight matches afterwards when you finished up with World of Sport. Because I believe, if I'm correct, I don't know if you wrestled them, but I know there was a picture with you with yourself and Davey Boy Smith, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously you've met some of the old school WWE superstars or WWF wrestlers at the time.
Yeah. That was taken in Kuwait.
Right.
I actually wrestled Davey Boy in Kuwait, and that was when he just got his WWE contract, when he had the beads,
Yeah,
the dreadlocks with the beads.
Yeah.
And I wrestled him in Kuwait, and excuse the clocks going off.
No, it's all right. No worries.
He had 4 Valium tablets before he got in the ring.
Right.
He was as high as a kite. And I could have done anything with him and he wouldn't have felt a thing.
Yeah.
But it was sound, never hurt me. We had a good match, got good eat, people round the ring and that, and it was great. There was some of the lads, there were 8 English lads. No, there weren't 8 English lads. There were me and Caswell Martin, I think. I'm not sure. I don't think there were any others. And it was absolutely brilliant. They're good.
Yeah.
Another lad that was there, he just got in the WWE, a coloured lad, very nice guy. Larry something, his name was, and he had the Mr. T haircut. I think he only done a couple of matches with the WWE and he died.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Had heart attack.
Oh, damn. That's unfortunate.
Through taking the gear light.
Yeah. Oh, damn. So you just spoke about your time after World of Sports. So I want to know here and now what your thoughts are on the British wrestling scene from the past 10 years.
The last 10 years?
Yeah, let's say the last 10 years. What's your thoughts? Or, yeah.
Well, it's so different nowadays. They've done these high-flying moves, and what they don't realise is it's cutting their careers short because of the bumps they're taking. It's destroying their bodies, and it's ridiculous, really. If you watch some of Mal Saunders' matches against Stevie Gray, they hardly do anything, but the heat they got was horrendous. But when they're doing all this high flying now, it doesn't mean a thing, really. And if you look back, the ones that did the high flying in our days, like Dynamite, Rocco, and people like that, they're all dead.
Yeah.
Rocco, he had dementia. Dynamite, he was really bad. He ended up in a wheelchair and suffering, bless him, and I put it down to their high-flying moves, which they used to do, and they were brilliant at it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but I swear that's what shortened their lives.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So don't do high-flying moves, or if you're going to do it, I would say there's a time and a place to do them. Build a build-up, not every single match. Because you want to leave people like the punters and all that, you want to leave them guessing, oh, you're going to do that again. So if they see you in matches all the time, they're going to know what's coming.
Yeah, but the trouble is, you might have 6 or 7 matches on a show, which we never did. We had 4 matches. That was it, right? And you had a wrestling match. No, a bit of Cowboys and Indians first, wrestling match second, your main event third, and send them home happy fourth.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how it worked. But now you can have 6 or 7 matches on. The first match will go on, and they've done everything before the next match comes on, and everything's been done before the main event. So what can they do extra to get them punters?
Yeah.
They can't do it. You can't do it.
Yeah, definitely.
So to me, it needs working out properly nowadays. So I'm not saying don't do it, but moderately build it up for your main event, let them blow the roof off, and then bring them back down again. But you can't do it these days because the first match on is the same as the last match.
Yeah.
Everything's been done.
Yeah, I mean there are some promotions who do it. You know who have got it right. You know, you got All Star, you got Dominators promotion, EWW, LDN, Welsh Wrestling. You know, they've all got it. They know what they're doing. I've been to a Welsh wrestling show, and Alan, he knows how to do it.
Alan Ravenhill, he's a good promoter, very good.
Yeah,
he won't book me, but that's up to him,
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate that. I'll give him a letter saying that that covered him for if anything happened to me in the ring, that nobody would go back on him, but he still ain't booked me. So,
Yeah.
Because I got Gethin, he's dying to have a match with me.
Yeah.
But if I don't get booked, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So
maybe never say never.
That's right. That's right.
I've learned in wrestling. So you had time away from wrestling. I'm not sure why that is. Why did you have to step away from wrestling?
Well, to tell you the truth, I changed my job because I've always had a job as well as doing the wrestling. I mean, I used to do at the beginning, especially in the summer, I was out 7 nights a week, but I worked as well. And I changed my job, and he wouldn't give me the time off. He wouldn't let me finish early to go. So then what I did, I worked for Jake. I don't know if you know him from Tamworth. He wrestled as Klondike Bill.
I've heard of the name. The name rings a bell.
Yeah, great guy. He'd been about years. He got me into India. He'd been about years, and he was running some local shows at Tamworth and all round there, which I could get to after finishing work, which I did do. And I done 4 years for Jake. And then I packed up. I lost all my weight, and then I had an accident at work, crushed my spinal cord. And they told me I wouldn't walk again. So I seen Matt Powell, and I were on crutches. And he said to me, would you fancy doing the manager's job? He said, I've got a lad. He said, he's very good. He says, but he just needs that little bit of a push now and finishing off. So I said, yeah. I said, I'll do it. So once I'd got off my crutches, I got down to one stick. I'd done the manager's job, and it's just gone from there.
Yeah.
I got more involved and more involved. What it's like with the wrestling. You just can't leave it alone. It's in your blood.
Yeah.
And I got more involved, and I started getting in and doing a bit, and that, and then we formed the tag team.
Yeah.
And the best heat I've had since coming back, we're doing a thing where we were chasing the tag belts.
Yeah.
And Matt and Johnny Thunder wouldn't have it on. You know, they kept running away from us. And we were in Darlaston Town Hall, and I'd done the manager's job. And I said to James, I says, you know what you've got to do. So he went behind the curtain and fetched Matt's wife out, Elise, by the hair. And he cornered her and I squashed her. And the heat we got that night was electric. They were all up round the ring. There was shouting woman beater and everything. And Matt hit the ring with a chair and we jumped out, and that's where we got the tag match from.
Yeah.
And we filled the town hall before it were even booked.
Wow, that's impressive.
People were booking tickets before the poster were even made.
That's impressive stuff.
But the heat we got that night, and we wrestled there in the training room the next night. He does invite only shows, you know.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars and they're numbered. And we were there the next night, and they were screaming for our blood. There was women beaters and everything, you know. The heat we got off that. She played a brilliant part, Elise did, you know, and that was it.
Yeah. And that's how you do it. That is how you do it.
Yeah, that's right.
So you come back to wrestling, you came back as a manager for James Venom. You done all that, you know, you was with Cam as well from Pro Wrestling Live.
Yes.
You know,
yeah.
RIP, rest in peace.
Yeah.
You know, so you managed them as well. So that would have been a great experience for him and for James. The next step was you get back into the ring, you start coming back as a wrestler, an active wrestler. And now you are the Pro Wrestling Live Tag Team Champions with James. And
the Untouchables.
The Untouchables, yeah. Myself and Big D, Aaron Scare, would like to have a match with you too. I'm just going to put that out there right now.
Well, you get it sorted and we'll do it.
All right, and there we go. So how does that feel looking back for the doctor saying to you, you're never going to walk again? To get in that ring as champions for Pro Wrestling Live?
Absolutely brilliant. My physiotherapist, she said to me, she said, since you've been back wrestling, she says, you are a different person. She said, you know my opinion that you shouldn't be doing it. She said, but she said, I know this is going to sound a bit odd, but she said, if you passed away in that ring tomorrow, she said, I would be able to go to your funeral knowing you were doing what you love doing. Yeah. And I could go with a clear mind, because she told me not to do it, you see.
Yeah.
For my back. But, you know, my back hurts. I'm not saying it don't, but it would hurt if I didn't do it. So,
but it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
I to you before, it's in your blood. You can't leave it alone. You know, I know lads have left it alone, but it's just there. You know.
And the other good thing is, you know, like I said, when you made a mark for all them younger kids, for them children way back, you know, in the 70s and 80s. Now you come back to the, you know, 2020s or whatever you want to call it now. You've come back and you're making an even bigger mark for these kids, for these parents who had seen you, for these grannies who would have seen you and all that, you know. Me personally, much respect to you. Yeah, much respect for you, Scrubber. You know, what you've done is phenomenal. I respect the hell out of it. And, you know, thank you for paving the way for younger guys like myself. You know, if it wasn't for you, there'd be none of this. So, my last question for you, unless I think of something else. I want to know experiences with other wrestling veterans that are still around nowadays. Have you had any bad experiences, good experiences that you can speak of, you know?
No, I haven't had any bad ones.
I mean, do you get when you came back to wrestling? Did you get any messages off like the older guys saying, "Oh, glad you're back" and all that? And
Well, yeah, I'll go to the rugby. I've got a season ticket for Leicester Tigers, and I go there with Ron Marino, used to be a wrestler. I don't know whether you remember him, and Pete LaPlaque. And Pete said to me, he says, "You must be crazy." And Ron did. He says, "Getting back in that ring after what you've been through, there must be something wrong with you." But now, if you asked them, they would say how I've changed again since I got back in the ring. Going back to your other question, I never had any bad experiences with anybody. Good ones. One of the best matches I had was against Mal Saunders. Again, it was, the heat was horrendous. He used to have a manageress, Lois, and what happened was I was going to splash him, and he pulled her in the way, and I splashed her. But the heat it got was absolutely tremendous, Another one, I were in South Africa, and I'd done the very first cage match ever in South Africa.
Oh, nice.
And it went brilliant, And then a couple of weeks later, I was back on another show there because I were out there for the month, and I were on against Gamma Singh, who the Indian lads out there were like God. Gil Singh, who I went with, the heat he got when he walked out, was up here. But I were on with Gamma Singh, and the promoter said, "We need to get some good heat right from the start." I said, "Okay, yeah, no problem." So I gets in, he comes in all his Indian gear, his turban and everything, because you see, the biggest majority of the South African fans were Indians.
Yeah.
You see, and I knocked his turban off.
Oh, heat.
So he wanted heat from the start, the promoter did, so it got it. And it never dropped down neither. It just stayed there, electric, all night while our match were on.
So it sounds to me, if you want somebody that's going to get heat straight away from a crowd, you're going to beat Book and Scrubber. He's going to give you it.
Yeah, because like them days. I mean, the match I'd done before the cage match, they had to lock me in the dressing room, and they put armed guards outside, and they smashed all the windows in the dressing room trying to get in from outside. It was a bit scary sometimes.
Oh yeah.
and then after the cage match, we come out, and they tried to get me out. Me and this. Well, there were only me left, and they took me, but they took me down the wrong stairway, and we got to the bottom, and the door was locked, and I'd got armed police with me and everything, and the crowds were throwing big ashtrays, everything over the balcony of the stairs, and the police guy had to fire his gun to get them to stay back, and till somebody come round the back, opened the door so I could get out, and they put me in the car and took me straight back to the hotel.
Wow.
So, it was a bit scary sometimes.
Yeah. Crazy. Good experiences though, I'd imagine, and good memories to a point.
Absolutely. India, that was the same. There was 98,000 there, and the buzz you got off it when they're all booing you, it was absolutely crazy. I done a tag match there with me and Boston Blackie, and we ended up outside the ring fighting, and this guy hit me with a chair, split my head straight down here. This was a punter.
Yeah.
And I knew if I'd have gone down, they'd have killed me. And I kept up, and they had to get Randauer out, who was a film star and that. He come down to the ring, and we was sort of like arguing, getting back to the dressing room. And when I got back, Boston Blackie said to me, he says, I have never, ever seen anybody take a blow to the head like that and not go down. I said, I knew if I'd have gone down, I'd have been finished. They'd have trampled me to death. And, you know, but it was part of the job. I knew I'd done my job properly then.
Wow. Crazy, man. That sounds awesome. So that's my questions out of the way now. So now we're going to start with the fan questions. I say every time somebody comes on, I put the graphic up to announce who's making their debut on the Rambles, and I give people the option to send in questions for my guests. Got quite a few, so you know, bear with us. So first question is by Tristan Hayes. Is there anything Bomber taught you starting out that you think is missing in today's generation of wrestlers? And what could there be more or less of that you see present day?
Less of this high flying stuff and proper wrestling. Pat Roach taught us to wrestle properly, you know, and right from the link up to putting a move on, it was always solid. It's not these days.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of it these days, you can see straight through it.
Yeah.
So,
next question, Kid Cymru. I think that's like, do you know what? I live in Wales, and I'm not even sure I pronounced that right. Kid Cymru. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Apologies if I haven't. But there we go. I'm not Welsh. So, what wrestlers would you like to get in the ring against, or manage, or coach today?
I'd like to have a match with him. Definitely. I would like to have a match with James Mason, because in my career, I only wrestled James once, and I think you were about 16 at the time. And it was for a promoter called John Fremantle, and he got me doing the Zebra Kid. So I were in a mask when I wrestled James. And he said, on his way to the show, he was so hyped up because he was going to be on with Scrubber Daly. And then when he got there and I were in a mask, he said it just killed it. Yeah. So I would like a match with James. And anybody out there, you know, any promoter, I'll sign a form for them. I know I'm getting old, but I'll wrestle anybody.
Nice. Again, I'm going to put it out there just for my own sake and my own bucket list. I would be honest, have a match with you. So if there's any promoters out there that I know who would like to do me a little favor, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Can imagine that. Scrubber Daly versus CueBall's. That, you know, I don't care as long as it happens. It's just on my bucket. It's on the list.
That's right.
Next question is by Alan McLean. I think I pronounced that right. I've been told to ask you about the show in Linwood. Where the local Neds attacked the ring, van, and minibus. How did you enjoy working the shows in Scotland?
The shows in Scotland, they were bad.
I can imagine.
We done a show in Glasgow, and we were going somewhere else the next day, and we were following this. We were in a minivan, like, and we were following this guy, and there were all punters on the road bridge throwing bricks and bottles and everything at the ring van. The Scottish were terrible. You know, you'd end up fighting somebody before you even got to the ring. You know, and that's how it were up there.
Yeah,
but
that's something you don't get nowadays.
I wouldn't change it. You know, I'd still go up there.
Yeah. Sounds good, I suppose. Next question by Johnny Rose. He's got one. That's his question. Tell us about the riot you were involved in overseas that time. Great story to hear on the podcast.
Yeah. What happened were, it was the first time I went to South Africa. And I flew out with Gil Singh, and we landed, and they took Gil off somewhere else on another flight down south, I think it was, South Africa. I was left there on my own. They took me to the hotel. They said, we'll meet you in the morning at 9 o'clock. So 9 o'clock, I'm down in the foyer, nobody about at all. And then about 10 o'clock, these wrestlers start coming in. You know, not one of them spoke to me. And they were all talking in Afrikaans.
Right.
So I didn't know what they were saying. So we gets in this minibus, put me in the front. Nobody spoke to me all the way there, and we were travelling for 3 hours. Gets there, goes in the dressing room. The promoter come to me, asked me how I was. You know, I said okay. I said, but these ain't a very friendly lot, are they? He said, they'll be all right. They'll be all right. So I said okay. So he says, you're on with South African champion. I forget what his name was now. Anyway, I says, well, what do you want? He says, plenty of eat. So I said, okay. And this were in like a shopping mall.
Yeah.
It was sort of open in a big shopping centre. So anyway, I gets ready, and they told me what they wanted, you know, wise. He said, but we need plenty of eat. So I said, okay. I said, leave it with me. I said, what do you want me to do? He said, anything. So I did. I went out there, and I literally battered him, you know, and the heat we got, we'd only done 2 rounds, and the punters were climbing in the ring. And we were both stood there fighting them, hitting them and chucking them out as they got in. And they had to abandon it, finish it. And I went back to the dressing room, and the lads couldn't do enough for me.
Yeah.
They were running around after me. What do you want? We'll get you something to eat. And it would just change just like that, you know. And the promoter come to me, he says, fucking hell, he says, I wanted to eat. He says, but he says, that went over the top a bit. I said, well, you said get as much eat as you can. Yeah. I said, that's what I did. And that were it, you know. And it was the same when I done the one where I chained this. As I come out, there were a South African policeman stood by me, and I said to him, I said, a lot them handcuffs. So he took them off and showed me. So I walked off with them to the ring. You see, put them in my dungarees. We were doing a tag match. It was me and Lance von Erich against the South African champion and a little mask guy. So I handcuffed the South African champion to the corner. Well, this copper didn't come down because with the keys because he knew they'd kill him if he had it done. So anyway, he was at the contest, you see. So I got the little guy, battered him, splashed him, and that, you know. And I worked on the South African champion in the corner. His head all split open, you know, and there was blood everywhere. And Lance von Erich said to me, he says, "You're going to get us killed." So I said, "Don't worry about it." So I picked him up and slammed him and splashed him. So then the referee come, he was holding me back, and I splashed him as well, and the MC, and they were all out, you know.
Yeah.
And then they had to get people back then to get me out the ring, and they was throwing things, like I said, these big ashtrays they had round the hall. They were throwing them off the balconies, and I'd got my hands over my head like that, and I managed to get back to the dressing room, and I took my hands off, and somebody dropped an ashtray from up above, hit me straight on the head and split my head open. And they got me inside, and that's when they had to put armed guards on the dressing room. So that was 2 riots I'd had.
Yeah. Damn.
You can't beat a good riot.
Yeah. Good. Well, I say good. A phenomenal worker. Wow. There you go, Johnny. That's amazing. I'm glad he asked that question. Next question, Mark James Smith. I got to ask you about the first generation of Hammerhead Smith wrestling and your thoughts on his son carrying on the Hammerhead Smith name.
I met Hammerhead Smith a few times, and he was a nice guy. I never wrestled him. He were on shows that I were on. But them days, we working, you were in, do the show, get your money, and gone. So you didn't have much time to socialise with the lads. So I didn't spend a lot of time with him. Very nice guy. I have spoken to his son on Messenger, and great. If he carries it on, brilliant. You know, if he works like his dad did, he'll do well.
Yeah, do it properly.
Yeah.
Last question by Cal. I want to say Staines.
Yep.
If that's wrong, do apologise. Don't get offended.
No, it is right, actually.
If you did, fuck off if it offended you. I got to ask you, who is the best worker he has ever seen live? And then I got to ask you, why is it him? As in, why is it Cal? But no, he said, nah, for real, that question, no. So who is the best worker you have ever seen live?
The best worker I've seen live? Oh, there's a lot. Davy Boy Smith was one. Johnny Saint.
Yeah.
Steve Gray. Mal Sanders. Matt Powell. I would say Matt Powell at this present time is one of the best technical wrestlers that there is. And I would put him on a par with Johnny Saint. Who would I say? The best. Personally, I think the best was Fit Finlay.
Yeah.
And his manageress, Paula. Because she had the crowd eating out of her hand.
Yeah.
Just by her attitude, the way she was. I'd done tags with Dave against Shirley and that. And Paula was the manageress. And the heat we got just walking in with her was unbelievable. So I would say Dave Finlay.
There we go.
And he was a very, very hard man as well.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah.
Now his son is wrestling as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good thing, keeping the Finlay name going.
That's right. He's a big name in Japan now, his son.
There we go, even better. So that's the conclusion of CueBall's Bearded Rambles. Scrubber, it was an absolute pleasure, an honor for you to come on to my podcast and hearing your stories, especially about the riots. That's absolutely crazy. Thank you for coming on.
No problem at all, mate. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just thank you for paving the way for the younger generation like myself and all the others who are going to be coming up through the rankings and all that.
Well, that's right. It's nice to see the job being carried on.
Yeah.
And definitely not being left by the wayside. It's just a shame the promoters can't get into the television, and that would bring it back big time again.
Definitely. I'll give a quick mention to Stu Allen. He did say to me on my last podcast to say, he hopes you're well and all that. So
great guy. I went down to Hastings. I'd done the manager's job for him and John Key. And he put me and Nigel up in a hotel, all paid, absolute phenomenal guy.
Yeah,
got great. The best respect for him. I don't know why he packed up. I hope he starts up again because he was the dominator.
And always will be. And obviously we can't go without saying about Nigel, Tommy Stewart, cracking guy, lovely guy. I wonder if do you reckon he would come on to Rambles?
Yes.
Story?
Yeah. I would say he would, yes. Yeah.
Drop a message,
definitely.
I think. So, like I said, that's it. That's all the questions out the way. That's all the fan questions out the way. This has been For the Sports British wrestling veteran, Scrubber Daly. I have been the beer drinking, heavy metal listening, bald-headed border people. I messed that bit up then, but you know it. Thank you to everybody who has watched this season. We've had such a phenomenal season, and that's it. That is a season finale, and what a way to end it. So for the last time this season, punters, stay safe, stay positive. Hashtag, yeah.
The star that's in